What's up, everyone? Welcome to Respawn Aim Fire, the kick-ass irreverent game... the kick-ass irreverent gaming podcast from Affable Idiots. This is episode 184. 184 of this show. It's a lot of episodes. Hold on, 200's right around the corner. You know what's right around the corner?
It is.
Up your button around the corner. That's your ding-a-ling. Or your hoo-ha. I'm Chad Michael Ennis. We've got here Holden...
I don't think so.
Prickly Pear DePardo. Say hi, Holden.
Hi, I'm a prickly pear, whatever that is.
It's a pear with hypodermic needles.
It's a pear that got stuck on a porcupine, and then you pulled the pear off the porcupine, and some prickly bits of the porcupine left there. That's what a prickly pear is.
That's what it started out as. But here's what it actually ended up being. You know, like the word gay used to mean happy, but here's what it actually means today through thousands of years. Thousands of years of misuse of the word. Not misuse, but, you know, it changes. So it started out as the porcupine thing. But nowadays, druggies take pears. And there's been this huge crisis with, you know, reusing hypodermic needles leading to infections and AIDS and death. So they have a pear, and they put a bunch of needles in it. And they hollow out in the middle, and they drop a lot of crack in there. They plug it back up. And then you pass the pear around the group of junkies. And then you go, tss, put it into your arm. And then all they have to do is just rotate it, and they get a clean needle. Tss. Next person, rotate it, you get a clean needle. Tss. And you
Boom.
get one pear, one crack rock, 15 needles that you can just pass around really easily and effectively.
Is this what the term a pear a day keeps the the doctor away?
No. This is a paradox. Welcome, everyone, every morning.
Very good.
Every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern. You can put us in your ears with your favorite podcast service, or you can put us in your eyes by looking for Respawn Aim Fire on YouTube. That's right, we've gone into the third dimension with 2D video. And if you want to break the space-time continuum and go into space where no one's ever gone before because we have not left this atmosphere, you can do that by going to twitch.tv/AffableIdiots every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, like we're doing right now. We've got some people in the chat that are very excited or grossed out. It's up to your interpretation of what the word ew means. That I'm going to be lotioning my feet live today on the stream while we talk. Why? Well, I got to do it, and I can multitask. So that's the thing today. Today's episode is brought to you by Affable Idiots, but we will talk about that a little bit later in the episode. Hold on. That is it for our housekeeping. We've got some really cool shit coming up. We're going to talk about some fantastic photoshops that people are doing of Tom Holland on set of Uncharted. We're going to talk about some great mustaches. We're going to talk about boxes on boxes on boxes. But before we do, we're getting into our main quest. That's right. Right up front, we're going to give you the goodies up front and I hope you stay for the rest. Should streamers pay developers? That's our topic of conversation today for our main quest. And this all stems from a little tweet on Twitter from a man who was bought by Stadia. No, he was not bought by Stadia. His company was acquired by Google and now works under the Stadia umbrella. His name is Alex Hutchinson. He works for Typhoon Studios. And he tweeted the following a few days ago. Streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they used music they didn't pay for should be more worried by the fact that they're streaming games they didn't pay for as well. It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it. He then followed up and said, the real truth is the streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the games they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content they use. Holden. Very controversial take. Twitter was a hoppin' based on Alex Hutchinson's response here. In the comments, just generally, there are people on both sides of the argument.
Mostly on one side, but yeah, there is some on.
You do have opinions on both sides. Yeah. They're both great people, I think is how Donald Trump says it. In the comments, people agreeing with Alex do so because of, quote, gamer entitlement. They say that music copyright is handled on YouTube in a certain way, and people should kind of abide to those same rules on Twitch when it comes to games and YouTube. And then there's those who disagree, saying that streaming helps get the word out on certain games, and that streamers have paid developers. In fact, a lot of them do pay the developers $60 for the game, and they're small time, and they stream what they like. Obviously, there are the fringe cases where the large streamers don't pay for their games, and in fact, they are paid to stream the games. But by and large, Twitch is made up of people who actually do purchase games and stream them. All of this is to say that the parent company, Google, backed away very slowly from Stadia Guy's very bad tweet, says Luke Plunkett at Kotaku. Google issued a statement that says, the recent tweets by Alex Hutchinson, creative director at the Montreal studio of Stadia Games and Entertainment, do not reflect those of Stadia, YouTube, or Google. Hold on, what are your thoughts while I take my foot up here and just get to
I don't know if I could talk about this. I'm so distracted by that gorgeous foot.
It is a nice foot. Watch what I can do with my pinky toe.
Ooh.
Yeah. That's talent. That's first-class talent right there.
So in terms of this tweet from Alex Hutchinson, this is basically applying a precedent from other industries to the video game industry, where it might not exactly belong. It's like saying, well, geez, bicycles ran off of just your feet moving up and down. But now we have these car things, and they require gas. And I feel like there needs to be a precedent that cars need to be run by moving your feet up and down on pedals, because that's how bicycles did it. Like, just because they're both moving vehicles does not mean that they operate in the same way. That's a weird analogy. It's not a perfect analogy. It's honestly not even a good analogy, but I just came up with it right now.
I tried to think of one too today, and I was like, it's such a unique situation that I can't really think of an analogy. Like, it's a unique relationship between streamers and developers, for sure.
I can understand his argument, but the precedent has been set. There are so many developers who've already taken the mindset of, yes, like games will start by saying, like, before it even says the name of the game, be like, hi, please stream our game. Please, you're allowed to, and we're not going to shut it down. There's also been a precedent on Nintendo's end where Nintendo wanted to take like a 30% cut from anyone who posted anything about Nintendo content on YouTube, and that ended up being really disastrous and therefore not compatible with the video game industry. So like, I can understand his point in a vacuum, but we don't operate in a vacuum. This is a precedent's already been set. And also, when the parent company comes out and says, yeah, no, we don't stand by this, it kind of nullifies the entire debate. Mm-hmm. So let's have that debate right now.
I don't think there's going to be much of a debate because we are both on the right side of history. No, I saw lots of tweets from all sorts of different gaming personalities and people today, not today, but over the last couple of days, that said, I'm just doing a quick informal poll. Have you ever bought a game after watching someone stream it on Twitch? And overwhelmingly, everyone said yes. So obviously, well, there are some sales. It is free advertising for you. Sometimes, literally, sometimes it's paid like they pay you to advertise your game. They are buying your game. So it is an advertisement engine. In a world where people are not watching commercials, people are paying for ad-free Hulu, people are not watching cable TV, how do you get the word out about your game? Well, you pay the personalities that they really, really like to play the games that you want them to play. Or you make a game that's compelling to certain audiences so that they are seeing other people that they enjoy watching play that game. And then I start to think about games that I don't think literally would exist today if it weren't for the promotion that they got through streaming. Notably, Apex Legends, which is one of the biggest games on the planet right now. The only reason they got any coverage whatsoever and anyone picked up that game, they shadow dropped it, and they paid all the top streamers like millions of dollars to stream it on day one for 24 hours straight or whatever it was. And if no one saw these streamers playing that game, no one would know this game exists. No one would know that it was really good. So I think that I think Among Us is very, very similar. Like, it was
absolutely.
out for years and floundering. And then suddenly, the right person starts streaming it on Twitch one day, and it is now the biggest pop culture thing. Like, my parents know about it. My parents see the memes. Everyone knows about Among Us. We have politicians playing Among Us on Twitch to try to get the word out about voting. So I think that Alex Hutchinson is very ignorant and dated in his views of the gaming landscape and how things are advertised and partnerships he should be trying to make rather than trying to say, no, you owe me money to stream this game. And I think when his next game comes out, he better hope that streamers are willing to stream it.
I feel like they might not be for just some arbitrary reason, not related to anything to gaming at all. Yeah, I think that's a great point. And especially because gaming, like the music analogy, for example, it's that music is not comparable. When I hear a song in a stream, that's the exact experience I'm going to get when I buy that song and listen to it on my iPhone.
Yeah.
But playing a game is like watching football and then saying, well, I guess I don't need to play football because I just watched the Patriots play. Doesn't happen. You go, man, they had a lot of fun playing. Wouldn't it be fun if I got to play that game too?
Yeah.
So it's not a comparison. I could understand an argument in the context of a single player game where it's very story-based or something like that. But even then, like take Until Dawn, which is entirely story-based. Ooh, I want to see what would happen if I made this decision here instead of that one. The agency of the player is a really important part of the game. So just watching it doesn't offer the same experience. And it's kind of also like insulting to a game to say just looking at it was the experience.
Yeah.
It's not. It's not at all the experience. It's like saying, this might be a better analogy. It's like listening to the record of Star Wars play and then saying, well, I don't need to see the movie because I already listened to the record.
Right.
You're missing a portion.
I've consumed it in part.
Yeah.
One way, through one medium. Therefore, I think I've gotten the entire picture. No, you obviously haven't. I think about this the exact same, like last week when Haunting of Verdansk launched. I get self-conscious when I say that word because I don't know how to pronounce it. But the Warzone Halloween stuff, and Dallas sent us that stream of Nick Merckx playing it, and I saw Nick Merckx playing it, and I saw it. I watched the zombies, and I watched all this shit, and I said, "That looks so fucking fun! I can't wait to get online and play this." Like that's what streaming does for people and for games. Is I see how much fun he's having playing it, and I see how cool it is. It is more effective than a trailer that is just like 2 minutes of whatever parts you decide that I should see, and it is a selling engine for these people. And of course, I got on, I played that zombie shit, I had a shit ton of fun in a game that I hadn't played in a little bit, and yeah, this guy is super backwards.
Yeah, everyone's entitled to their opinion, but that doesn't mean everyone has to agree to the opinion, and I think the majority of people in this case don't agree with this.
At the time this screenshot was taken, it had 18.2 thousand quote tweets, and I guarantee you probably about 18,000 of those were people saying, look at this guy and his backwards-ass opinions.
He got ratioed. Let me pull up. He got ratioed hardcore.
For anyone who's curious, I am now on my second foot, lotioning up my right foot.
Okay. I don't just know what ratio means.
I don't
when
know
you
what
like something. Yeah, so when you like something, it's by saying, I agree with this. But if you have significantly more comments than likes, it's usually the sign that people don't agree with it because they voiced a concern as opposed to just liking the tweet. So there are 5.4 thousand likes and 18,000 comments and 18,000 quote tweets and retweets. So I would say that that's a 3-to-1 ratio. He definitely got ratioed.
Yep. Horatio Sands. He got Horatio Sands. Shout out to Google though for being like, hey y'all, we're not with this guy. I mean, we're with this guy, but we're not with this guy.
Yeah, and to go back to that too is that they didn't have to do that, and I think that the fact that they felt like they had to just shows how much of a precedent it is that streaming is okay with games.
Yeah. And they're also in kind of a tricky situation where, like, they run YouTube, which is both, like, they obviously get a lot from people streaming on YouTube, but also they are the ones bringing down the ban hammer on copyrighted content as well. So it's like, it's a tricky situation for them. But for them to come out and say, like, dude, we don't agree with you.
That was a weird, like, noise that came out of my mouth a second ago. I don't know if you heard that. Anyway, Google also, when they introduced Stadia, made a whole thing on connecting the streaming community to the players, to the develop. Like they recognize that as a tentpole part of the industry. So
why do you think that button exists? Why creator codes exist? Because people watch streams and then buy the games. They click the button to say buy. They enter someone's code to say, yep, I watched this person, therefore I bought this game from this person. Like, it works. Otherwise,
if that button existed, yeah,
if
absolutely.
if that workflow doesn't exist, there wouldn't be a button for it.
Yeah. City just needs to make the button first is the problem.
Yep.
They have the click to join, but not the click to buy. Okay.
You have anything else to say about this guy who probably won't be friends with us?
I'm glad we worked out that harsh disagreement we had on that subject.
Wonderful. Holden, we're going to move on to playtime, where we talk about what we played in time. We do it sequentially. We're going to start by talking about your shit.
Yeah.
It looks like a lot of the same stuff, although we'll both have impressions of The Haunting of Verdansk.
So I'll save that.
Okay.
I'll also save talking about Horizon Zero Dawn for next week when we have our BARF episode about that, which Chad and I haven't discussed the time, but it's probably going to be on Twitch at 7 p.m. on Sunday because it's usually how we do those things. But I played more Animal Crossing New Horizons, and know what? I have news to share. Guess who has a 5-star Animal Crossing island? I finally did it.
Is this the first time you've had a 5-star island?
Yes. It took a while.
What have you been doing?
It took a long time. It took me 200...
I've seen 5-year-olds have 5-star islands by now.
Well, I stopped playing for 4 months. And a part of the problem is that I had concentrated so much of my island into basically the bottom left corner of the island. Mm-hmm. So I had to work on spreading everything out. And it just took a lot of time and moving things around. It was actually kind of a little fun, long-term puzzle to find the most efficient way to move everything around. Excuse me. But I did it. I'm so happy. My island is fucking awesome. It's gorgeous across the whole island. It's amazing. I'm still working on little things that I will use for my own happiness. But having a 5-star island means that I'm incredible. That's what it means. It means I'm amazing.
You know what I kind of want? I kind of want, I don't know, a 4 or 5 minute video on our channel of you just giving it, you being a tour guide for your island and you showing off your 5-star island. This is my museum and this is why it is where it is. Oh, and look at these things and little happy trees. I kind of want you to just give us a tour of your island and cut it down to 4 minutes.
I could do that.
But
I think I could do
that.
that.
That's all up to you.
Because Dallas says he wants to come visit, and he totally can.
It's 5 stars now, and it's just who's gonna see that?
And then, it was always just so I could enjoy my island, and I just want to share my joy with everyone. But if anyone wants to come visit it, I can put a dream code out there, and actually people can just visit with the dream code, just like I visited Joe Biden's island last week. And Dallas says it's going to be a Cribs episode. Absolutely.
Yes.
Cribs episode, Animal Crossing style. You mentioned the museum. Here's another amazing... I'm incredible, Chad. I'm amazing.
I believe it.
It's the museum. I finally got all of the fossils. And the museum is... the fossil part of it, at least, is fully decked out with all the fossils now, which was very annoying. Because for the past... Well, in the not including the 4 months. Well, let's say including the 4 months I didn't play the game. 6 months of only needing 4 fossils to complete it, and digging up fossils every day. Going to Blathers going, well, we don't need these fossils. Take a fucking fossil, motherfucker, because I need to finish this museum. And I finally did it. And Blathers makes a big deal. He's like, hey. You completed all the fossils. Congratulations. We have all of them now. It's very exciting. And now when I get those fossils, pure profit. Just delivering them to get sold. It's incredible.
How many of my dino butts went into making your museum?
I don't know, but it's a lot of
I think I had at least
a
good 4 or 5 dino. For anyone who doesn't know, I briefly, for about 2 weeks, played Animal Crossing a lot. And for my museum, I only put the dinosaur butts. I sold all the other parts. And I just only had butts. And I made my own outdoor museum and just had the butts in the grass. And then I let all of my friends strip down my island and take everything.
I've been in a lot about how amazing I am, but I am actually also a bad person. A very terrible, awful bad person. Because for the final step... I had to just plant a bunch of flowers all over the place. And I was so excited to finally be near the end. And to just wait 3 days for all those, 3 real days for all those flowers to grow. I'm like,
oh, you time traveled, didn't you?
I'm going to time travel. And I time travel to grow the
you
flowers.
asshole.
I'm an asshole. I'm a terrible person. But you want to know what? None of the animals on my island know or give a fuck. So it's fine.
They literally
don't know at all.
lost 3 days of their lives, and you didn't even tell them. You did that to them. And they don't even know.
They gained 3 days in their lives because I went 3 days in the future and then went back in time to the present. And they got to live those days all over again. So they made any mistakes.
So you Groundhog
They said
Day'd
something
them.
stupid.
You saw Bill Murray's mental health during that movie. It's like, wait a minute,
But
haven't
only
I
for 3
already done
days.
these 3 days before? What the fuck is going on?
The first 3 days of Groundhog Day for Bill Murray were fantastic. He was having fun, realizing what he could do. It was like if he time traveled 60 days, then it would be a problem. And I wouldn't put my animals through that.
Okay.
So don't worry.
It's weird
Don't
to
worry.
me that you refer to them as your animals.
They
and
are my
not as,
animals.
your townspeople or your friends. They're your animals.
I mean, it's my town. I rule those animals. It's my domain. Tom Nook has nothing on me. I did everything. Tom Nook did nothing.
My nephew, my 5-year-old nephew, is playing Animal Crossing on his DS, and he doesn't understand
Nice.
the concept of a loan. And so he's just so happy. He's like, they just gave me a new house, and I just have a new house, and it's bigger. And I was like, oh, poor boy, you don't understand. You have to pay all of that money back.
Animal Crossing should be teaching him about that. He needs to read the text of the game. Although, to be fair, Animal Crossing does not teach you how real loans work. No bank is going to be just come back whenever you want, pay off in any amount you want
Right.
to. Yeah, no interest, nothing. I'm a good bank. I'm a bank. That's me. I am a bank.
Yo soy bank. Holden, we both also played Haunting of Verdansk, which is the limited time Halloween event for Call of Duty Warzone. You had to play a couple of matches. I stayed on and played maybe an hour or more after that. What did you think of it?
I think my biggest criticism of it is that, you only get to be a zombie and never get to shoot a gun. Or is that just my experience? 'Cause I died all the time. And I was always a zombie. No, it was really...
Always a zombie,
was a
never
joke.
the bride.
It was really, really cool. I honestly just loved being a zombie so I could jump really fucking far. There's something about that jump that's thrilling.
It's the jump. It's the charge of the jump. The jump itself, that's like, oh, where am I going to land? And then it's the splat at the end. I also love the dropping in from the helicopter and no parachute. You just
Yep.
splat on the ground, and it takes you a moment to regain your consciousness.
It's a really, really cool idea for an event that changes the dynamic of the game completely, and I'm going to be bummed when it goes away. Because mostly, I don't really have time in the next week or so that it's around to play it. Because I got to crunch the fuck out of Horizon Zero Dawn. So I would like to play it a lot more, and I hope that they bring it back at some point. Because who is it we were playing with? That I think it was Dane said that he doesn't like zombies, and I don't like zombies.
The Call of Duty Zombies mode,
Yep.
a traditional Call of Duty Zombies.
And I don't either. I've never liked Call of Duty Zombies. I just have never found it enjoyable. That's just me. I will probably get shit for that, but that's just my opinion. As we know from Alex Hutchinson's at Google, it is allowed. And it's not that at all. It's completely different. So it's kind of nice that they didn't just they could have just brought zombies to Call of Duty Warzone and be like, all right, now you're going to go to the prison and fortify, this window at the prison. And oh no, here come the spooky ghost dogs and stuff. They could have just done all that stuff all over again. And it ended up being a really unique experience. There's actually going to the whole, it's fun to watch someone play it as well. Watching Dallas on the roof of one of the buildings with all the zombies around the building jumping up over him, trying to get to there was a thrill and a suspense to that just I hadn't experienced in Call of Duty Warzone before. So overall, just awesome. Really cool experience. I liked it a lot. Wish I had more time to play it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it a ton, and I think they did so much more than they had to do. They simply could have... First of all, that's just one piece of the puzzle. They also brought back the Juggernaut mode. They have costumes for Leatherface and for Jigsaw. They have all sorts of
I killed
bundles.
Jigsaw. I killed that motherfucker.
Oh, yeah, I killed Jigsaw a lot. I don't know. I heard a chainsaw during one of the games. I don't know if it's like a gun you can pick up or whether it's something special, but I heard a chainsaw. But also there are these fucking chests, Holden. I don't know if you ever experienced this, or I don't know if they're in zombies mode.
No.
But we played a few rounds of just regular Battle Royale. And first of all, there's trick-or-treat chests. So in every location on the map, there is one random chest that will have some kind of trick-or-treat thing in it, and you have to, like, when you get them all, then you get the special gun. So that's kind of cool. But then there are also these jump scare chests, and whenever you open
like a
the
Dark
chest,
Souls kind of thing almost.
No, not like a mimic, but they are. You know those YouTube videos where you're just watching something peaceful, and all something just pops up on the screen and just goes ah and scares you.
Yes,
it's that. So you open the chest, and it's just nothing but loud noise and screaming and like this weird thing in the center of your screen. And every fucking time, we were all just playing, and I was like, I don't understand, blah, blah, blah. And I go to open the chest, and and I would jump, and I'd be like, and then everyone starts laughing because it's like, oh my God, I can't believe it got me. It fucking got me.
Those things get me so bad. I'm not someone who scares easily, but you know those videos where it's like, look at the screen, look closer.
Yeah.
Do you see that in the corner? You don't see it? Maybe you should look even closer. And then all of a sudden, just this random, like, evil devil woman, like, pops out. Yep. There was one I saw recently. It was on Twitter. And it was like, this guy walks by a door. He turns the light off to the hallway. And his girlfriend's like, wait, who's that in the hallway? And you see this, like, silhouette of a person. And he turns the light back on, looks out, and they're gone.
Oh, yeah. That's the one Matt sent us.
Yeah. Oh, my. Oh, did Matt send that? I must have missed it. I'm sorry. I saw it on Twitter as well. That scared the shit out of me. So bad.
I think the first one, like the original one, the one that I can remember as a kid, is the German car commercial, and it's just like
it's a car commercial that does that.
It's a car commercial. So it's just you're watching a car driving through the countryside, going on some winding roads, and it's like Volkswagen, whatever it was, whatever car it was, and you're just watching, and then after about 20 seconds, just this fucking witch lady just pops up out of the corner of the screen and goes, ah! And scares the shit out of you. And that was like the first email chain viral video before YouTube existed. It was crazy.
I'm just like, who thought of that? Like, hey guys, have you ever heard of like sex appeal? Well, what about like another S appeal, but it's like scary appeal? Like they're both S's. So it's got to work, right?
I don't think it was actually a car commercial, but it was disguised as one.
Oh, okay. It was. Yeah. Okay, gotcha. Okay.
So everyone's like, oh, dude, like, watch
why would you make that in a commercial? Yeah. I want to buy the car that scared the shit out of me because that's what I want when I buy a car. Something that scares the shit out of me.
So, all of that being said, I enjoyed Warzone a ton. The zombie mode was unique and fun. It was so much more than it had to be. They could have just put a couple of skins in there and called it a day. And like you, yeah, I'm going to be bummed when it's gone because I had a ton of fun. It completely threw strategy out the window. Like, we have a strategy that we usually do whenever we're in trios or quads and we're going through, or if we're doing plunder. But this, I felt like the entire time we were all on edge, and we're like, where do we go? Do we just hang out here? Do we go to the top of a building? Or it's just like crazy, just like, I'm a zombie, become a human. No matter where it is, go and find the vials. But I was also kind of confused how the game ends because we got to the end once. We came in third, but Dallas, obviously it was Dallas. He was the last one, and he was running around. But it's like, if you die as the last human, technically the zombies can come back to life as a human, and then they're introduced. There's now a second human again. So it's like, when does it end? I don't understand. So it took forever, and then we died. Dallas was the set. Like, there were 2 people left in the game. Dallas died, and then we came in third. And I was like, I don't understand how all that works. But it was fun as shit. That's it. We're going to wrap up playtime.
I just have a question.
Yeah.
What's Poop Dollar?
So I also played Poop Dollar this week.
That's a real thing?
No, I mean, it is a real thing, but I didn't play it. I just put it in there because I was like, what else did I play? I couldn't think of anything, so I put Poop Dollar. Poop Dollar is a game that I learned about on the show Workaholics, and they all just sat on the roof, they got stoned, and they wrapped a turd in a dollar bill. And they just put it on the sidewalk out front of their house. And they watch people go try to pick it up. And they see that there's poop in it and go, ugh! And then they yell from the roof, Poop Dollar!
Okay.
That's Poop Dollar.
Is that a game?
I mean, it's a game for them. They were just stoned on their roof. And that's what they did to pass the time. Oh, Holden. let's wrap up playtime and move on because we've got some stuff to talk about. But before we do,
Yeah.
I want to tell you about Affable Idiots. It is the brand under which our products and podcasts all live, like Respawn Aim Fire, our off-color Mr. Rogers-esque show, AAWY, where we this week learned what the best picture was. Thank you, everyone who voted. Turns out Silence of the Lambs is the best movie ever made in the last 100 years. All from your help. But we're going to do so much more. There's something coming in early to mid-November. A new short video series. It's going to be super fun. We want to know that you guys want it. So show us that by going to YouTube, subscribing to our channels. They are in the descriptions. Go to them. Click it. Click subscribe. I don't even fucking care if you don't watch this show. Just subscribe to it. We need 100 so we can get our custom URLs. You can also go to podcast services that you're listening to this on, and you can give us 5 stars. Speaking of stars, I read a novel in German class in Germany. Nope, I didn't take German in Germany. I took it in America. And we read a book called Yildiz heißt Stern, and it's a book whose title translates to Yildiz is named Star. That's 5 stars on podcast services, and then leave us a little comment telling us how much you love us. Oh, yeah. So, sorry. Dallas in the chat. Make sure that I called out that literally we played Destiny every single night for at least 2 or 3 hours. I tweeted a picture of my sleep this week, and it's like, you got X amount of hours of sleep. And there was not a single night that I went to sleep before 12:30, all because we were just having a blast. Mopping up bounties. Doing some good shit. Fucking love you,
That's
Dallas.
late for you.
It is
Very
super
late
late
for
for
you.
me. Super late. And in fact, last night we were up till 2. I was up till 2:30. I think we stopped playing around 2:15, and I was awake till 2:30. I'm becoming
I think
a
we
teenager.
switched because that's usually me. And now
Right
I'm
on
going to bed
Thursday
very
night or
early.
Friday night when you were like at 8:30, you texted me. I think I'm gonna only play 1 round of Warzone because I'm sleepy. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude? You're gonna be up for 7 more hours.
I fell asleep on the couch and I woke up and I'm like, I don't know if I can make it. Like, I almost didn't come to game night. But I'm like, no, I have to. I have to come to game night. I'm like, I just I'm tired. I can't make it. But I'm like, but I can't make the whole. I'm just gonna. And then I crashed as soon as I was on game night. Just totally crashed.
And then finally, you can go to patreon.com/respawnaimfire. You can get some dope wallpapers. And in fact, no, it's a mistake. I was gonna show off the cool Halloween Xbox Series X one on my monitor right now by turning my phone around, but then if I wouldn't be able to necessarily line it back up how it is. It's there. Go do it. It's dope. There's also one more coming. It's on the phone that I'm using to stream from, so you can't see it. But there's one more coming before the end of the month. It is a kind of a blue Xbox Series X theme, our Respawn Aim Fire Blue. It's super sexy. It goes well with the Pacific Blue new iPhone. You also get to vote on what we play each month. Holden, I believe the results of the latest poll for November, December are in. The last time that I looked at it, it was... I'll
look at it right now.
We're doing this different for the month of November and December. Rather than playing another game, there's a lot of shit coming out for PS5.
Excuse me.
And for next gen. And we want to make sure that we're playing it. We can give you up-to-date opinions and all that kind of fun stuff. So rather than playing something from our backlog or a Game of the Year game, we asked which 2 games that you want to hear from us in depth about. So the 2 games that you choose specifically, we're going to go in depth and give you basically a review discussion. We're going to make sure we get as close to finishing them as we can. And those 2 games are, Holden?
Godfall.
Godfall.
And Demon's Souls.
And Demon's Souls. Ooh, some third-person action.
Yeah, those games are similar-ish in that they are both third-person action games involving knights with swords. So it's kind of cool to contrast them. They're probably very different in their styles as well.
Yep.
Speaking of good conversations there. And they're just those sexy next-gen games.
Oh, yeah.
Like, those are PS5 exclusives. They aren't cross-gen games.
That's right.
This is a big deal.
Yep. So that's what we're doing.
I'm very excited.
You voted for that. And also, look at these dope shirts.
Yeah.
We got shirts. Thank you to everyone who in the month of September donated by buying a shirt, and the profits went to Extra Life. That was super cool. It's great to see all of those coming out on Twitter, all of these pictures of shirts, shirt pics. It's like the new shirtless pic. The new cool thing is to take a picture of your Respawn Aim Fire shirt and send me just the shirt instead of your topless body. What if your topless body meant like Pixar movie topless dad? By topless dad, I mean he doesn't have a torso. Not a dad without a shirt on. Let's move on to our quest log, Holden, where we're going to explore some news related to our favorite gaming companies. Starting with our Microsoft quest log, there is an interesting little story saying Bethesda and ZeniMax sued for sabotaging Elder Scrolls Skyrim rival, says Zerminicon at PlayStation Lifestyle. So there's a company named Ragnarok Game LLC, and they are suing Bethesda and ZeniMax for this little ditty that we're about to roll out for you. So imagine there's a game named Rune 2 that released in November 2019. So it's about a year ago now. Published by Ragnarok and developed by Human Head Studios. This game goes out and is a really cool Skyrim rival. A lot of people are saying maybe it's the better version of Skyrim. Skyrim on steroids, quote unquote, is what one review said. This game seems to have some kind of promise. And for launch and beyond, Human Head Studios was supposed to support, and they had a contract to support this game after launch. But it turns out they couldn't because Bethesda bought Human Head Studios right at launch, and they rebranded them to Roundhouse Studios. So Ragnarok, the publisher, tries to go and get the assets and the source code for Rune 2, but they refuse to, allegedly. So they put out this game that challenged one of Bethesda's own games. Bethesda then basically said, ooh, that game looks good. We're going to take all of those rights, and then you're not going to have any right to anything that you just made. Because, allegedly, it's a rival to our game, and we're trying to oust the competition. So that's an interesting little thing. There are so many little things there that could have gone, Ragnarok developed this game that came out. Oh, this game kind of isn't getting a lot of support. Human Head was bought by this company. Oh, they're now this new thing, and that's what they're working on. But if you hadn't put all of those pieces together, like Zerminicon at PlayStation Lifestyle did, and there's this court case going on, it's like, oh, all of these little things actually add up to one really kind of interesting story. Holden, what are your thoughts?
First thought is, I think that Ragnarok absolutely has a case here. In terms of a contractual obligation between them and Human Head Studios. I also don't think there's a chance in hell that they can make the argument that Rune 2 would have taken away the thunder of Elder Scrolls. There's just no way. First of all, it's like a $30 game, which means it's lower in scope. It's not as robust as a Skyrim game is. And that's what people like about Elder Scrolls, is that it's a very robust, large RPG experience. And it just doesn't sound like what Rune 2 is. Reviews I found refer to the game as broken and not working very well.
Sounds like a Bethesda game.
Fair point. So to me, it seemed like analogy. Doing a lot of analogies this episode. If anyone has seen the episode of Friends called "The One Where Ross Got High,"
I have.
And actually, it's nothing to do with Ross getting high. It's just one small part of the episode. It's a Thanksgiving episode where Rachel makes a traditional English trifle, but the pages get stuck together, and she makes half that and half a shepherd's pie. So it's a layer of banana, jam, meat sauteed with peas and onions, and things that just don't go well together. And Joey says, I like it. Joey thought it was awesome, but everyone else is finding an excuse to hide it somewhere in the house so they don't have to eat it. And it feels like they took that one Joey review and said Rachel's dessert was amazing. This dessert would have taken over all the other desserts, including the best dessert shops in the country. Look at what Joey had to say, but everyone else doesn't like it. That's Rune 2. Rune 2 is Rachel's dessert.
You were right that's a terrible analogy. I didn't follow that at all, but I bet it works.
The point is, they say in here that one person called Rune 2 Skyrim on steroids, just like Joey thought that the traditional English trifle / shepherd pie concoction thing, that he liked it. That's the one good review. Doesn't mean that it would have taken away the thunder from all the other desserts, or the other desserts being Elder Scrolls.
Yeah.
It's just a stupid, they could have made a compelling case. Instead of talking about something totally irrelevant to the contractual obligations of between the two studios. It's really weird, their approach. Better analogy, it's kind of like Epic and Apple. Epic has some valid concerns, but they're talking about the most ridiculous things, which hurts their case completely.
Do you think that it was a malicious intent from Bethesda to thwart this game, or do you think that it was they really just saw a talented studio and they said, "Hey, you might be able to contribute to the next Elder Scrolls"?
I think it's that. I think it's the latter. I don't think that Bethesda would have actually seen this game as a threat. It's a traditional English trifle and half a shepherd's pie. It's not.
Oh, now it makes sense.
It's not a threat.
I'm curious. That Bethesda, who is currently in the process of being purchased by Microsoft, probably knows a thing or two about finishing out contracts before you're allowed to start working 100% for the company that you are doing. So I'm curious how they acquired Human Head Studios and rebranded them and didn't pay attention to, or maybe they paid attention to and willingly said, no, we're not going to honor that contract. How does that get by a company that big who's currently undergoing that themselves?
Yeah, because it's not like, oh, well, Human Head Studios just didn't tell Bethesda. They kept it a secret. That wouldn't have worked because if you sue anyone, that court case is public. You can just look up the court case. And if someone's buying a company, you're probably going to look into if they're being sued or not.
Yep.
Because then you'd have to handle that baggage. So I don't think there's a chance in hell they didn't know about the lawsuit. So it's definitely weird that they haven't done anything to handle this, or maybe they have, and like Epic, Ragnarok is screaming and crying like a baby, even though they don't actually really have a case to back themselves. That's also possible.
Also,
it wouldn't be the first time it's happened.
So
interesting, nonetheless.
Yeah, 100% interesting. I'm curious to see. I'm sure we will never hear of this court case ever again.
That's also possible.
But I hope that
it's going to bring down Microsoft. It's all done.
But speaking of Microsoft, we are still in this Microsoft Quest log. Phil Spencer hints at Xbox Game Pass streaming sticks for your TV. No console required. Says Joe Screbbles at IGN. Here's a quote. Phil Spencer did an interview with Stratechery, which is a news outlet for the industry. Not the gaming industry, but for tech industry. Says, quote, I think you're going to see lower-priced hardware as part of our ecosystem when you think about streaming sticks and other things that somebody might want to just go and plug into their TV and go and play via xCloud. You can imagine us even having something that we just included in the Game Pass subscription that give you an ability to stream xCloud games to your television and buying the controller. So this was obviously kind of speaking in hypotheticals a little bit, but in a way that says, oh, yeah, this totally makes sense, which I'm sure is something they've considered. That we might one day just see a Google Chromecast or a Fire TV stick that you just plug into your TV and you stream games to it. Or in this last sentence where it's maybe it's even just an app on your TV and you subscribe to it and you just buy a controller and you play with it. I think this is an obvious next step in their kind of evolution of Game Pass. It's something that you basically can already do that right now with your phone. You can subscribe to Game Pass on an Android phone and do the same exact thing. It's not too far-fetched to think that maybe your Chromecast that also runs on Android would simply just get an app that can do that too.
If Apple is putting Apple TV on Samsung televisions,
yeah,
I guarantee you Microsoft is considering putting Xbox on any television that would want to put it there. And I think the streaming stick is a component of that. Just like Apple TV boxes are as a component of Apple putting their services on every other TV. It's such an obvious step. And I love how this is a hypothetical when there's been rumors about this as well. They haven't been the most prominent rumors, but the rumors. I feel like it's kind of like Nintendo saying, hypothetically, what if we released a Switch that had higher resolution outputs to 4K resolution? And everyone's going so you're going to do that, right? He gets so specific with his hypothetical. So this is 100% happening. There's no way in hell this is not happening.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't be surprised if it happens sooner than we think, as in next year time frame.
Yep.
Why not?
I think it's a perfect opportunity when we see next gen take off this holiday, and we start getting those reports in the beginning of next year of we sold X amount of consoles, we have X amount of new subscribers after the holidays, and we start getting all this information to keep that ball rolling. We're now going to make the app available on any Android running TV or any Chromecast that you have in your already existing arsenal of devices. And I think that's a great way to just say, launch isn't the end for us. We started out strong, and we got so much more steam to keep going as well.
Especially if they're talking about getting Game Pass on iOS, wouldn't Apple TV be a part of that as well? Like, why not?
Well,
there's some other complications there because of
web-based-
browsers and
Exactly,
that kind
yeah.
of stuff. Yeah, but if they're doing the model that Apple wants them to do, which is putting the games all as individual titles on the App Store, like it would just work on Apple TV because it's the same code base. They just have to make marginal changes for stuff. So like, it's totally possible this is going to happen. And also, like it's not something that would eat into the sales of Series S and Series X. So it's not really like a time frame component of it where we don't want to release it too soon after release of Series X because no one will buy an Xbox Series X if they can buy a streaming stick. No one falls into that demographic of buying a streaming stick over a $500 console with 4K 120 frames per second output. Like, that's nobody. So they could do this. It wouldn't be that hard. It's more about... It's just really quick. It's more about just getting xCloud working well enough to make this a viable product. That's basically it. Sorry.
You know what I kind of see this as? I kind of see this as the next evolution of the PlayStation Vita TV. You remember that little tiny box? Mm-hmm. It was quote unquote a Vita, so you could download Vita and PSP games to it, even though like a large percentage of them didn't work because it didn't have the touch screen in the back touchpad.
Including some of the major titles.
But the largest allure of that system was that if you had a second TV in your house, it allowed you to remote play your PS4 to it. And so that's what basically anyone who bought it in the US, that's what they bought it for. It was on sale in Japan for I think a year and a half before that too, and it did pretty well in Japan. But that ultimately floundered. It was a $99 console that you could buy for your TV, and it ultimately floundered. But I think it's because like at the time there wasn't a lot of trust in remote play, or it didn't work well in a lot of scenarios. But I think with streaming via the internet and modern routers and internet like this could be the right time to bring something like this. But I think ultimately that's to say that if this were released, this could be a great second option to, the wife is watching The Bachelor on the TV. I'm going to go into the den and play on xCloud streaming TV stick, or play on the TV in the kids' bedroom while they're trying to sleep because it's accessible there. So I don't see this as being like people's primary thing, but I'm going to take my Chromecast to a hotel and still be able to play my games. I'm going to take my Chromecast wherever. That's what I think I kind of see this as. Yeah.
It's also, if they're going to compete with Stadia, and Microsoft has said that they view Google as their competitor, even though it's not really a competition at this point, they need to have that TV option for streaming as well. They need to have as low of a barrier of entry as possible, because right now Stadia has the lowest barrier to entry. So they have to do it, and especially with Luna coming in from Amazon, all that.
There's one more thing to note in that article that's a little confusing to us. There's a quote that says, "This isn't to say Spencer is against the idea of console hardware altogether. In the same Stratechery interview, he also mooted the idea of an Xbox Game Pass Platinum tier that would guarantee access to new hardware as part of the subscription." So my take from that sentence is, he says, don't worry, there's not plans for a Game Pass subscription that will also include hardware in it. And then I asked Holden, I was like, what does that sentence mean to you? Because I see Xbox All Access, which is a hardware subscription that includes Game Pass. How is that different than a Game Pass thing that includes hardware? And we were so confused. We have no idea what that means. And it seems to go against what already is currently out there and available. The only thing I can think of is the word guarantee. If he used the word guarantee, like right now, the Xbox All Access, if you bought a One X, you have the opportunity to go trade it in for a Series X. But I think guarantee maybe says if you have the All Access, then you will get a Series X on launch day. I don't know. That's such a small little finite detail that I doubt that's what he intended with what he said.
Yeah, this is a really good call out on your part, because I didn't catch on to that at all. I just Game Pass Platinum. I'd totally forgotten that All Access had Xbox Live and Game Pass built into it. I was too busy thinking about a shepherd's pie and an English trifle analogy, and just more other terrible analogies I've said this episode.
Christ.
Yeah, it's really strange. And here's the thing: this is Stratechery, whatever the fuck. Stratechery is a stupid name. It's a really terrible name. There's a paywall to read the interview. So I would love to read the interview, but I'm not going to spend $12 a month to subscribe to Stratechery so I can find out what Game Pass Platinum is. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't. So, yeah.
Great.
But
Let's move on to
all
our
the other
Sony
stuff,
Quest
very
log.
cool.
Sony Quest log is full of Photoshops. Nathan Drake looks at Nathan Drake in new pictures from Uncharted. It says James Whitbrook from IO9. There's a photo that is allegedly from the set of the Uncharted movie, which we all know I very strongly advocate for the fact that this movie is never coming out. It's never actually getting made. All of these pictures being photoshopped to make it look like they're on set. It's Nolan North and what is supposed to be Tom Holland. He's only seen in profile. The guy obviously looks like he has a higher hairline. He's got a receding hairline. Tom Holland does not have a receding hairline. So this is obviously a different person. But they're saying that it's Nathan Drake meeting Nathan Drake, and it's on set, on location. What I do enjoy is that everyone in this photo, aside from Nathan and Nathan Drake, are wearing masks. You can even see in the bokeh in the background, like all the resort members, the crew members, they're all wearing masks. I love it. And then Tom Holland also gave us a wonderful Photoshop on Instagram of him. He says, "It's nice to meet you. I'm Nate, #Uncharted." And it's some kind of cosplayer as Nathan Drake, and they did that deep face, face app to put Tom Holland's face on him.
Here's how you know as well that it's all photoshopped, because I didn't even think about the masks. You're right, with the masks, they would both have COVID.
You're right.
But they photoshopped it, and that's why they're safe.
Yep, and there are no masked pictures of either of those two online, which is why they had so much trouble. So here's the thing. Hypothetically, we're going to play a little game. Hypothetically, if these are real.
One more photo.
Hold on, we'll get there in a second.
Okay.
Hypothetically, if these photos are real, we're going to play a little game and pretend. If these photos are real, how do they look to you? Like, are you excited for the movie? Are you pumped?
So, I'm just filled with terrible analogies today. So,
please be another Friends episode.
No, no Friends episodes. I can't look at Tom Cruise in any movie and not think that's Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same thing with me and Tom Holland at this point for whatever reason, because he's not the level of star.
That's Tom Cruise.
That's Tom Cruise. And so I look at this and I'm like, oh, it's Tom Holland. Oh, that's on the set of Uncharted. Like, it actually took me a second when I first saw the photo. I'm like, why did we have this photo of Tom Holland looking stoic into the distance that we can't see? And then it actually took me after the fact, after I read the caption for it, I'm like, oh, this is from Uncharted. I just don't want, I think this movie's going to happen, but I don't want it. I don't want it, and I don't want Tom Holland to be Nathan Drake. I have nothing against Tom Holland necessarily. I liked him a lot more when he had a mask on playing Spider-Man.
I love Tom Holland. I think Tom Holland is really great and endearing. Admittedly,
totally endearing, cool guy, absolutely. Yeah.
I think I've only ever seen him as Spider-Man and on Instagram in his stories, and he's a wonderful follow on Instagram, even though I'm no longer on Instagram.
Do you know what I think it is?
What?
I think it's that one of my favorite things about Tom Holland is his sense of humor in interviews and like, oh no, I didn't mean to leak that information, like all those memes. That I think about that when I think about Tom Holland. So when I see him as Nathan Drake, I'm like, that's Tom Holland.
Yeah.
And because it's a younger Nathan Drake, he's not really looking like the Nathan Drake we know.
Yeah.
The kind of older.
So yeah, he's playing young Nate, which I think is part of it. But I think that could lend some goodies to him actually like becoming the character. Like he's got that quip, that wit, that quippiness to him that Nate has that I think will come across well. But in this photo, he looks like Tom Holland pretending to be gruff. And he's got this weird, like he's forcing his chin out in this weird underbite to he has a stronger jaw, and I don't know, it looks unnatural. I don't know if it's just that photo and he's just like, I don't know. But here's what I do enjoy. I do enjoy when that photo was tweeted, as well as two following ones that didn't have people in them, but they were just like environment shots. And I literally was like looking, I was like, are those screen grabs from the game or is that on set? And I couldn't really tell. And then it turned out they were from on set. I was like, oh, so it's really cool that like the set, like it's going to look like an Uncharted game, which is cool.
The optimistic side of me is saying that I was really skeptical and thought the Tomb Raider movie was going to be awful. And I actually enjoyed the Tomb Raider movie.
It wasn't wonderful. But
I didn't say it was great, but I had a good time with it. It was fun. I forgot that Alicia Vikander was was playing Tomb Raider, and it was just you know Lara Croft, as opposed to a robot who wants to take over the world. And if anyone gets a reference, watch Ex Machina. It's a great movie, very good movie.
Be good.
So I'm open to this being good, I guess. I just really, really, really don't want this movie to be made at the same time. So I'm kind of conflicted.
Yeah.
I guess you could say I'm
it's
conflicted.
Gonna be. I have to hear Tom Holland as Nathan Drake, because Nolan North in my brain is so like Nolan North and Nathan Drake are the same person to me. And anytime that I hear Nolan North in anything else, it's like, oh, that's Nathan Drake. And so to hear a Nathan Drake that's not Nolan North's voice, I think no matter what, I'm going to be disappointed. But I have to hear it because, like, in my brain, first of all, thinking he's an English actor, how well is he going to be able to do Nathan Drake's voice? And then I think, well, he does Spider-Man pretty well, but then he's still just like a, oh hey Mr. Stark, blah, 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 and I went over here, oh my butt. And it's like, but that's not like the confidence and the persona of Nathan Drake. I don't know. I have to hear it. I have to hear it.
The other part of it is part of what makes the Uncharted games entertaining is the chemistry between Nathan and Sully.
Yes.
And I don't know if we want to segue as to the other photo or not, but I think I'm going to have a hard time buying Mark Wahlberg as Sully. There were some shots of people showing shots of older Sully from some of the other Uncharted games, and there actually is a pretty good resemblance. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to enjoy Sully saying, hey, goat, how's it going? Say hello to your mother for me. As Sully is just not going to be entertaining.
El goddamn Dorado. Yeah, so Mark Wahlberg... thanks to Jeff Keighley. We got to look at Mark Wahlberg potentially as Sully. We see Mark Wahlberg with a mustache, and it is a
totally not, stage mustache. Woo! Definitely not a stage mustache.
And he just says,
it's a natural mustache he grew.
I think in the video he just says, "Don't say anything. Don't say anything," as if like I know the mustache looks bad. Whatever. Yeah, that's gonna be something that I'm gonna have to get used to.
I didn't even realize it was a video. I'm gonna watch it right now.
Yeah,
I was like so distracted by. Oh, he took a screenshot of it.
Yeah, I think it's Mark Wahlberg on Twitter. But Mark Wahlberg, on the other hand, if you follow him on Instagram, that dude is fucking still jacked. And you see him doing a workout in his gym, just like churning out pull-ups, go do something, and he takes a shirt off. He's just like, I'm a fucking machine, and I'm 30,000 years old. I'm like, dude, I don't know how old Sully is gonna... Like, you're too jacked to play Sully. Sully is not that jacked. El goddamn Dorado. Anyway, so if this movie... Again, we're done playing hypotheticals now. We know this is not real. Obviously, that mustache is fake.
I use an alternative set of facts, and I do think this movie's going to be happening.
Let's talk about two other PlayStation-related things. The first one being PT. You remember that PT demo? Well, Konami officially says PT demo will not be compatible with PS5, according to Dennis Patrick at GameRanks. Earlier this week, there was a story that came out that said PT will not be downloadable on PS5, which... Obviously, it's not going to be. You have to have it on a hard drive. And it was like, just so if you don't have it already, then you're not going to have it. It was like, we get it. But it's on my hard drive, so I'm safe. Turns out, no, it is also officially just not supported via backwards compatibility. So even if you have it downloaded, hang on to your PS4 because you won't be able to play it. But here's the thing. I'm not upset about it. PT, it had its time with me, which is great. I've had it on my hard drive for years now, and I haven't come back to it. But if I want to go back to it, enough people have recreated it faithfully in Unreal Engine, in Dreams, that like you'll be able to play it again if you want to play it again. I'm not upset.
And this isn't a knock against PT at all. Who's going to really want to play it again that much? You know what I mean?
I mean,
we're going to get horror games that are probably going to be inspired by PT at some point. I'd be shocked if it didn't happen at some point because it was such a landmark experience that we're going to kind of look back at PT as like, oh yeah, remember that thing? That was really cool. But I don't know if it's going to be this huge thing people are going to miss out on. No. It was like a 20-minute experience.
And there are ways to find it. So you'll be fine, everyone. It'll suck that we don't longer have it, but you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Next up, DualSense compatibility test shows that it works with other devices, not the PS4. Says Brianna Reeves at PlayStation Lifestyle. There's a YouTuber named Austin Evans, who I believe we've talked about on the show before.
Yep.
Who tested it on various devices, had varying results. It basically seems like it functions as if you would expect a Bluetooth controller to function on other devices. So similar to like a DualShock 4. On a Surface Laptop Go, it all worked. The right stick felt a little funky, but everything else kind of worked. On a Google Pixel 5, you were able to successfully use it. You could use it with xCloud as well. He played Forza. Apparently, it does not work with the Series X, however, which makes sense because Series X actually... the game consoles themselves, while the controllers have Bluetooth, they don't pair via Bluetooth and they don't play via Bluetooth. They have their own proprietary wireless, which is why they can cut out on lag. So that's why you can't pair like a DualShock 4 right now to a Xbox One X.
And in this video specifically, he even plugged it in directly. And like for a second, it like registered and just disappeared. Gotcha. So not going to work.
And then on the PS4, he tried the DualSense, which we know from Sony is not officially supported. But the microphone on the PS4 worked, and it shows up as a wireless controller, but it doesn't respond otherwise. So interesting. Yeah, basically, however your DualShock 4 works with everything else, you're probably going to see similar results with your DualSense. You can use it on your Mac if you want to, probably use it on your PC, use it on your phones.
I do think it's interesting that the DualSense doesn't... I guess it's not that interesting because the DualShock 4 didn't work on the PS3.
No.
I guess my question is why is it something that they've written into the code to say it has to be on a PS5 but not a PS4, but it does work on xCloud. So like I'm curious as to like what part of the code is making it not work? Because if it could just adapt and work with xCloud.
I think there are probably... I'm no engineer, software or hardware or otherwise, but there are enough things about this controller that I think are different, like the way that the light bar displays. It's now multiple LEDs on the side. There are player count LEDs on the middle. Mm-hmm. The way that the rumble works, like it's no longer just turn the motors at a specific frequency. It is now haptics. So like those old things that somehow they've solved through backwards compatibility, probably the PS4 system doesn't know how to control those new motors.
But an Android phone can, and that's the weird part for me.
But I wonder if the Android phone does rumble and like haptic feedback still work on the Android phone, or is it just button presses and analog sticks?
Just the button presses. So like the triggers, you'll be able to push them down, but there's no resistance in the triggers. Yeah. I don't know about the vibration, like the normal rumble stuff, like stuff that PS3 even had. I don't know about that. Yeah. And how that carries over. But I guess just even for the basic functionality, like the cross button, the circle button, squares, like joysticks, like that stuff's not hugely different. That should work, right?
I guess what it probably is not wanting to say, hey, here's this really cool new controller that can do really cool things, and if you play it on a PlayStation product and none of those things work, that's a bad experience. So it's probably them just trying to stay away from associating that DualSense with not working.
What I think it could be is that like Google and Apple, and this is just me speculating, I don't know. Google and Apple have built-in Bluetooth controller support, so there needs to be some level of like generic functionality for a Bluetooth controller to be recognized as, such as having a button on like the grid of the buttons, like the cross buttons, all that, like the bottom button, the left button, and it's kind of looking more for that.
Which is why like the touchpad doesn't work on iOS.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not a generic button.
Yeah, but I guess the whole like it not working in PS4 thing is weird, especially when the Series X controller works on an Xbox One. Just for the generic stuff, not the additional stuff.
Yeah,
like
but that's
the share button, I don't think would work, or maybe it would. I actually don't know.
The Series X controller though is such an iteration that like it's literally all the same buttons. It's the same. All they've done is just improve the ergonomics of it and added the create or the share button. Everything else is exactly the same.
The generic stuff exactly the same on both controllers, though. Like, I can
understand,
they didn't
like change the way Rumble works. They didn't change the way there's no light bar on the Xbox. Like it is all the same exact controller. Whereas the DualShock and the DualSense are very different controllers.
But the generic stuff isn't though. So like I can understand why the haptic triggers wouldn't work and the haptic feedback wouldn't work in PS4 because none of those games are designed for it. All that stuff, but. The cross button, so the cross button. The cross button is the cross button enough so that it would work on an xCloud and on a Google Pixel phone, but not enough for a PS4 to recognize it. This is just, I guess it just feels more like Sony is trying to limit the controller to the new console, but who's going to buy the controller just for a PS4 that wouldn't eventually buy a PS5? I don't know. It just seems weird to me.
My thoughts are like kind of going back to that same idea I mentioned earlier. Like, if playing a PS5 controller on a PS4 gets you 80% functionality, that might not be a high enough bar of the controller itself. Like, of all the things a controller can do, you can only get 80% of that on a PS4. That's probably like, that's not enough for us to say, yes, this is a quality experience. Whereas an Xbox Series X controller, if you play that on an Xbox One X, you can still get 95 to 99% of the same functionality. And that's probably a high enough bar that, like, yeah, why not make it on both consoles? It is virtually the same experience. So, I don't know. That's my assumption of the two, why that's different.
Mm-hmm. Ultimately, it doesn't matter because we're both getting PS5s.
That's right. And we are all that matters, us and our deep wallets. Next up, number 5, third-party quest log. Number 5. These are numbered. Have these ever been numbered before?
Oh, I increased the size of the text, and when I increased the size of the text, the bolding to distinguish each section of the note went away for some reason, and it was bothering me, so I just used the numbers to kind of help make it more legible for us.
Gotcha. Well, for all of you out there listening, this is number 5 segment on our show. 1/3 of U.S. gamers surveyed plan to buy a next-gen console this year, says Brendan Sinclair at GamesIndustry.biz. Last week, we talked about another survey where 511 people were surveyed and how many of them were able to secure pre-orders versus how many wanted to and weren't able to. And we were kind of like, I wonder how much of this is due to demand of the console versus just were they available. Well, this survey actually went out to 1,000 people and said, do you want it? Not, was it available, did you get it? And here are some of the results, which are pretty interesting. So, of the 1,000 people surveyed, so about double the base of the previous survey, more than a third of them are looking to buy a console this year, with 18% of them wanting a PS5, 13% for a Series X, and 5% for a Series S, adding up to 18% for Microsoft. So, basically an even split. I don't know if there's anything in the survey that breaks down further, like, I want PS5, I want Xbox, I want both, and whether those factor in these numbers. But I think this is enough to tell us that they're both kind of in demand.
It didn't account for that.
Gotcha. And a couple more statistics from that as well. There are an additional 12% people looking to buy a Switch this year. Very popular product, especially with the new Mario 3D All-Stars and Mario Kart Home Circuit Live. 10% people will buy a different or older console, apparently. And then 41% people, 41% of people surveyed plan to buy a console next year. A next-gen console.
That's huge.
Next year. So yeah, that's almost half of those 1,000 people, which is in addition to the 36% of people, I guess. So 75% of people, 77, whatever it is, percent of people want a next-gen console in the next 13 months. So there's some demand. Ultimately, there is demand for both consoles, which is so good for the industry.
Absolutely. I think it does answer a question that the Series X wasn't selling less because there's less demand for it. It's just that they probably didn't make as many. And how much does that speak to Microsoft really taking that model seriously of focusing on xCloud and Game Pass and playing everywhere, and it's not about the box? Like, they're definitely putting their money where their mouth is, because they would have sold those units had they made them.
Yep. Speaking of, everyone will be happy to know that I secured a third Xbox Series X console for pre-order.
And I question your loyalty to PlayStation, you Xbox fanboy.
So you're
I questioned
right.
it. I've not gotten a satisfactory answer.
I only had 2 PS5 pre-orders, and then I ended up for a short time having 3 Xbox pre-orders. No, Best Buy had a second round of pre-orders for Series X, and what I liked about this is a cool thing that I liked about it, is that the way they did it, you would hit pre-order on the website. If it wasn't immediately available, then the pre-order button would gray out, and there was a message that says, we're doing things a little bit differently. In a few minutes, that button's going to turn yellow again. When it does, click the button and click checkout as quickly as possible. Your console's not reserved unless you're able to successfully hit checkout. So it kept bots from just continually pre-order. You were only able to pre-order once, and then you had to wait a few minutes and then try again whenever it turned yellow again. I just opened up a bunch of different browser windows in private mode and just had like 6 of them going on different devices. But I ended up securing, rather than having an ambiguous one coming someday from Amazon without a release date attached to it, or one that I knew was coming 2 days late from Walmart that I had pre-ordered, this one actually allowed me to do store pickup at Best Buy on launch day, which is great. So I'm going to get one as soon as Best Buy opens up on the 10th of November, and I canceled the other 2 orders. So now I have more PS5 pre-orders than Xbox pre-orders, Holden. There we go. You happy now? You happy now?
I feel like it's a ploy and you're just hiding the fact that you're really an Xbox fanboy. You never liked PlayStation.
Yeah, well, fanboy my balls.
No thanks.
Last part of our third-party quest log is one that I fucking hate, Holden. Oculus purchases will be deleted if you delete your Facebook account, says Grant Huff at DualShockers. So if you are unfamiliar, Oculus Quest and all Oculus products going forward will require you to link your Facebook account and use that as your account when you buy games or experiences on the devices and use them going forward. If you already have an Oculus thing and you don't buy anything new, you have 2 years before you have to migrate to Facebook. And so we all knew that's gross. They're collecting data on you. It's all tied to this. They're going to mine that data and sell it for a ton of money, and your information is going to destroy yourself. But what we weren't kind of familiar with until now is that when you deactivate your account, you no longer access any of that. And when you delete your Facebook account, you lose all of that. Now, I have a couple of things. One, I get it. Obviously, if you delete your Facebook account and you bought things on Facebook, then you're going to lose access to those things. It's the same way as like, I deleted my Apple ID, I'm going to delete all the purchases, all the apps that I have. I get that. I delete my PlayStation ID, I lose access to all the digital PlayStation things. That makes sense. However, Holden, Facebook is a social media network, and it is something, especially in the right to be forgotten age of everything requiring you to be able to at least see all of your information and then be able to willingly delete that information from all of their servers. That is even more reason why they shouldn't have linked a social media account with Oculus to begin with, because they are fundamentally different products. And I know Facebook wants to like integrate them and make it part of this big social experiment and fucking destroy you. But that's disgusting to me. Because if I do not agree with Facebook's practices or something like that, and it's something that I've decided I don't want to use anymore, I cannot stop using the hate speech spreading Facebook without also getting rid of a gaming system that I love and enjoy and have poured a lot of money into. So I think it's just even more fuel on the fire of why I'm pissed that Oculus and Facebook are now permanently linked. And I think it's disgusting, and I will absolutely never buy an Oculus product, period, because of that. I don't know if you're allowed to say anything because of your ties to Oculus and Facebook and how much you love them.
It's fine.
And how much I see you wearing Facebook shirts every day.
So this is, it's like you said. I don't really have anything to like add. I think you nailed it 100%. And great analogy with the English trifle and the shepherd's pie.
Jesus Christ.
No, in all seriousness, I do actually 100% agree with what you said. Like, it logically makes sense why that would be a consequence of deleting your Facebook account. But why are they connected to begin with? It's just ridiculous. Yeah. And VR is in that position where there needs to be as few barriers to entry as possible. And just the association with Facebook is a barrier to entry for a lot of people. And honestly, I think for a lot of people in the gaming community, I don't really know that many people who have Facebook and actively use it and like Facebook. I don't know that many people to begin with who are like that.
I know a lot of people who have a Facebook but do not like using Facebook, but they have it and they use it. But you're right. Facebook itself is a barrier to entry to owning one of these products. But then also think about the fact that the way they've mishandled user, we're not going to go on a Facebook tangent, I promise. But the way that they've handled user information and oops, we didn't know this was happening behind the scenes, and now this company has all your shit. We'll patch that hole. And it's just story after story of how leaks and they were doing this gross thing with your data, and we'll fix it now. You caught us. But now you're introducing cameras and microphones and things like that into your home that are seeing like very personal spaces to you. And yes,
Yeah.
these are used for VR porn. Facebook now has a camera pointed at your dick while you're jerking off watching VR porn.
Like, I want to be explicitly clear about this as well. The sensors that are used to track your hand movements 100% are actual cameras. They're not just like random sensors. There's a mode in the Oculus headset called the Guardian system, where if you step outside of like a unsafe range that you determine yourself, it will show you the real world using those cameras. They 100% can see what you are doing.
Yep.
So they got some dick pics of everyone who used VR pics.
And you know,
100%.
Facebook and Google, they have all of these machine learning algorithms running in the cloud on their servers. Like, there is some part of this headset that is being streamed to Facebook at one point or another, whether it's usage data afterwards that you finish it and you plug it in and it's uploading, or whether it is live streaming for some kind of purpose. There is data from your use of this headset that is going to Facebook servers, and they're using it against you in some way. And just think about that the next time that you put on your VR headset and go jerk it.
And you might say, well, they can't see my face because I have the headset on and it's pointing away from my face. But they're going to have eye tracking, and you don't think that the retina is a very unique part of the body.
Also,
everyone has a different retina.
See my tattoo as I jerk my penis.
Yes.
It's a very unique tattoo that I designed.
So it's just the whole, but also it's attached to your Facebook accounts. They also just know who you are.
Exactly. They know exactly.
Well.
I am sure Facebook does not anonymize their user accounts and detach the hardware from the actual information itself. I'm sure.
I think the way it works is that
as much data as they can.
I think it's anonymized in the sense that it's not your name, but it's like user number 4728, blah, 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 blah.
But you don't
and
think
they just
that
target everything to that. But who knows if they could change that in the future? I have no idea.
You don't think that there's any way that they could look at that user-generated blah, blah, blah identifier and ever link that back to your name? There's not a single way that they could link those two together in the future?
I just said that they could.
Exactly. I hate it. I fucking hate it.
Yeah.
And then to think that's literally my favorite game of the generation. Like, we'll talk about this later, but like Beat Saber is incredible. I think it's the game of the generation. And it's now owned by Facebook, and it's owned by Oculus, and it's just like it's so disheartening to me. It's like finding out that your best friend was a racist.
They could Minecraft it and just keep it everywhere.
I mean, they do, but we're already starting to see multiplayer support for Beat Saber. It came to Oculus Quest last week or 2 weeks ago, and they tweeted out this week like, "Hey, we're so sorry it's not on PSVR yet. We're hoping to have it in January." It's like we can already see the effect. Like, oh, they're supporting a Quest up front, hardcore. PlayStation's getting the scraps.
Yeah, they're not as generous as Microsoft may be with Bethesda.
Yep. But I think you and Matt said it in our text chat. Well, it's just like PSVR is the only hope for the future of VR in a not gross way, because like as you mentioned, Steam VR and Valve and all of that kind of stuff, it's too expensive to be mainstream and have a real impact on the industry. And PSVR is so accessible that that's whatever they end up doing next. Like they are Obi-Wan.
They are our only hope. I am worried about Facebook hurting the chances of VR by just being Facebook. And it's literally what it is. It's just being Facebook. It's really not like, that's it. People just don't trust Facebook. So we'll see.
For good reason.
But they trust PlayStation.
Let's talk about some boxes, and not boxes that you might see in porn, slang for vagina. Let's talk about Xbox boxes. Xbox Series S package has been spotted. Oh, we are in our fetch quest, so we're not going to touch on these stories too long. Xbox Series S package has been spotted at some retailer. It says Merdad Kayat at DualShockers. And there's a picture of a box, and it looks like you would expect a console box to look. It has a picture of the console, it has a picture of the controller, and it says Xbox Series S on it.
It has a picture of a speaker as well.
It's a picture of a drive-thru speaker.
Yeah, they highlight that like the air vent. It's like, why would you? I don't know. Whatever.
Similarly, there are our PlayStation 5 has arrived. Here's what we can show you so far, says Sam Makovec at Ars Technica, along with a ton of other outlets who are just showing you pictures of their box. Again, not porn related, pictures of the PlayStation 5 box, because that's all apparently anyone's able to show you under NDA. No impressions. They're allowed to show you the paper, the fucking craft paper that's holding it all together, but they're not allowed to show you the PlayStation even itself. Now, again, it's just a box with a picture of the console on it and a picture of the controller. But this one, I zoomed in on all of it, read every single word. What is that?
Yep.
Whereas the Xbox One was like, I get it. It's a Series S.
What was I gonna say? Oh, here's something that was reassuring for me. There was a rumor a few weeks ago, and I didn't bother to post it because I'm like, I can't verify this. Like, it seems not right to me. But there was a picture of a PS5 box, and it was this gigantic cube. Like, literally a cube. Not a rectangular prism like every other box is. A cube. It was ginormous. It would, like, go across my entire hallway in my upstairs. Like, it's massive. And I'm like, that can't be the box. I'm like, but it is, like, the biggest console ever made. And I really don't want to, like, go to GameStop and keep that in my passenger seat with a seatbelt around it. I'm driving home. But this has a handle. It's a nice box. I'm glad it's a small box. None of that matters. Just like most of the things I've said with my terrible analogies this entire episode.
If you haven't seen, I posted a V-Funny video on Twitter of when we got our PS5. Like, I used the beauty of augmented reality and made it look like it was as big as my house.
Don't ruin it. We really got a PS5. It's that big.
Oh, yeah,
it's
we got
huge,
a PS5.
but it's
Go
very
look at it.
powerful.
We were the only ones that were able to show you the actual console itself. Some more fetch quests for you. Job listing hints Sucker Punch may explore a Ghost of Tsushima sequel, says Brianna Reeves at PlayStation Lifestyle. That makes sense. It got a ton of great press, great reviews, and people are really loving the multiplayer content, so it does not surprise me that they're looking at a second. Holden, we're going to be playing this game in depth thanks to our patrons. Godfall, PS5 dev, lauds the console's social features and DualSense, says Zermana Khan at PlayStation Lifestyle. Now, the social features is not really something we've heard developers talk about so far. It's really just been about the DualSense or the SSD or the 3D audio, but it's cool to see that people are really loving the social features, especially in a week when the PS4 completely took a step backwards with its social features, and it's the way that it forms its parties. So this is from someone Lee at I forget the name of the person, but from a person from the Godfall developer, says, the way that we've designed it, there's this moment where the swords feel physical, that there's a resistance, there's a clash, and then your sword will bounce back at you when you feel it. It's all the hundreds of different subtleties that we add that makes you walk away saying, I felt like I was there. Yeah, it wasn't just me looking at a rectangular screen. So fucking pumped.
Yes. The part that I loved about that quote was the hundreds of different subtleties.
Yes.
This isn't just like your controller's going to buzz, and when you walk in another room, it's going to buzz, and when you open a door, it's going to buzz, and when the swords clash, it's going to buzz. Like, I'm now more curious than ever. I've always been interested, but when you hear hundreds of different subtleties, it's like, whoa, they have a range of things that they can do with this that I didn't consider. I was just kind of thinking you'd just feel some resistance, but I was already intrigued. Now I'm like hundreds of times more intrigued.
Can you imagine the sequel of all sequels, Dane Deasy's Balls 2? Like, we played Dane Deasy's Balls on Nintendo Switch, and the Joy-Con was able to, like, distinguish between, like, 3 to 5 different Dane balls in there. But imagine hundreds of possibilities. You could be holding the DualSense, you'd be like, oh, those feel like old leathery balls that are low-hanging. Ooh, those feel like, I don't know, supple balls of a young teenager in love. Ooh, that feels like the really thin-skinned scrotum of a 40-year-old man after testicular cancer. Like, there are so many variations to Dane balls that you can feel in the DualSense with this new haptic feedback. I cannot wait for that game. Next up, Nintendo.
Awesome.
You're what?
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great.
Oh,
Nintendo...
also, I forgot to mention, job listing for Sucker Punch, Ghost of Tsushima stuff. They could also be DLC. It doesn't have to be a sequel. It could just be DLC. Anyway.
Nintendo will begin selling individual Joy-Con, says Marcus Stewart at Game Informer. Now, starting November 9th, you will be able to buy either a red right or a blue left Joy-Con for the new price of $40 when it used to be $50. It is only for those two colors. But hold on, you have a note in here that I actually couldn't find evidence of anywhere, that Nintendo has sold single Joy-Con since launch, just not the red left and blue right. I think I might have got those mixed up.
Yeah, so I went to Google, because I was like, I feel like they have. I feel like I've gone to a store and I've seen a single Joy-Con being sold. So I went to Google. Great feature of Google News is you can just say, hey, I want to look up every single news story from this date to this date. So I just typed in Joy-Con price between January 10th and March 3rd, because I figured they would announce the the price of an individual Joy-Con at that point, and they did. They announced price for individual Joy-Cons, only the gray one, at $50. So I'm very confused. And I tried to find, is there a point where they stopped selling them? Did it actually not come out? Which I don't think that's true, because I do have very vivid memories of going into a store and seeing single Joy-Con and going, why would you buy just one? That seems kind of stupid.
Yeah.
Joy-Con drift, it makes sense, but back then, we didn't know about that yet. So I think it seems it's very widely reported that this is the first time they're selling individual Joy-Cons, and that just doesn't seem to be the case. But it's the first time we've gotten at least these colors in individual formats. I even found stories that said they no longer sell the yellow or the, whatever the different color as one unit together, but you can buy it as an individual. So they did sell different colors individually. So I'm very confused.
Yeah. Because I tried to. Everywhere I searched, Best Buy, Walmart, everywhere, I could not find single Joy-Cons. The only thing I could find was at GameStop. You could buy them used individually, which I assume was just GameStop saying, there are two of these? Well, if we separate them and charge $5 extra each, we can make more money. But maybe it was something like you could only do through Nintendo, or maybe since this came out, I don't know. I'm confused at when that all disappeared, or maybe they didn't see a lot of people were buying them, but now Joy-Con Drift, people are trying to buy them. But here's a cool thing. You can now officially buy Joy-Con Drift-free Joy-Cons, because you can buy an individual right Joy-Con that is guaranteed not to have Joy-Con Drift, because it's only a left thumbstick thing. Few more Fetch Quests here before we move on to our final segment, number 7, if you're keeping track. Cyberpunk 2077 will be available on GeForce Now at launch, says Mirdad Kayat from DualShockers as well. This is cool because it's another streaming service, which is great to see traction, and especially that Cyberpunk 2077 is coming to it when Stadia. I think it is coming to Stadia for all intents and purposes. But when Stadia struggles to get day one releases, and Nvidia can get them,
it's coming to Stadia day one. It is coming to Stadia day one. Yeah. They made a big thing out of it. Like, we have a very exciting announcement for Stadia users. You're going to get the game like everyone else. That's the big news for Stadia users.
Is GeForce Now the one that people were pulling their games from after they didn't understand how it worked?
Yep, 100%.
That's good then to see CD Projekt Red supporting them.
Absolutely. I think GeForce Now, I've heard also just it works really well.
Yeah.
As well, so it's cool to see that doing gangbusters with getting, well, not gangbusters, but they're doing good with getting Cyberpunk. I did find it funny that in the article itself it says they teased it's coming. And to me, it teases like, is this going to happen? Is it not going to happen? And then I watched the trailer and it literally just says at the end, and Cyberpunk's going to be on launch day on GeForce Now. Like, they didn't tease it, they announced it. What are you talking about teasing it?
Let's all have a little lesson on what tease means.
Yeah.
GameStop will be closed on Thanksgiving this year, says Jenny Leda at Siliconera. Great. A lot of other stores are kind of following suit. Obviously, over the last 10 to 15 years, stores have been opening earlier and earlier and earlier for Black Friday, to the point where they are just open all day Thanksgiving, all through midnight, all through Black Friday. It's terrible for anyone who works retail or restaurant, food industry, and they don't get to stay at home with their family. They don't get to have Thanksgiving, and they don't get to have holidays on Christmas, all that kind of stuff. So this is great. It's also very apt for the environment that we're in right now, where everyone's dying of COVID because we're all being fucking stupid. So GameStop's not going to be open on Thanksgiving Day, but they, of course, will be open for Black Friday. They will be open the day before. But what I enjoy is that there are them and every other retailer virtually are making deals available as early as 2 weeks ago, like Black Friday level deals as early as 2 weeks ago, in order to discourage people from going to a physical store and gathering in crowds to buy things. And in fact, I've even seen, I think it was in Best Buy's catalog, or maybe it was Target's, but a couple of these things are like, here are our biggest things, and you're only able to get these deals online. So please don't go to the store, because you're not going to be able to get what you want in store. Great to see that. Marvel's Avengers sales dominate September's digital charts, says Zarmenicon at PlayStation Lifestyle. It is the second best launch of a superhero game ever in America. Number one, I assume, is Spider-Man. I think this is really interesting that it came just after the article last week about how Marvel's Avengers is struggling for the player base, and they're delaying this content because they want to improve the game first. And then we see there's like, it doesn't matter. People fucking bought it and they had fun with it. So
yeah,
cool.
I think it's just a lot of people bought it, they stopped playing it, and they want to make sure that people like the experience a lot. Right. But they have a user base of people who've already bought it, so they don't have to like all you have to do is convince them to please re-download this game.
Yeah.
Please
And
re-download it and keep playing
I already
it.
did. I mean, they with the boon of materials that they gave us on Thursday, it was like, I already downloaded it again. I powered up my Black Widow. I was like, fuck, now I need nanotubes. And I immediately got that bug again. I was like, should I go run some stuff to get some nanotubes so I can get up to 150? So yeah, that's great. Wonderful. And I think, we also talked about this in our text chat, that Marvel's Avengers is in a unique position where they were worried about the player base dwindling down and matchmaking being kind of a desert. But it's also that game where I've never wanted to matchmake with people. I either play it solo with my own version of these things, with the skins and the skills that I've unlocked for them, or I know that I want to play with my friends. And so we get together and we don't want to play with randos. I don't want to play Marvel's Avengers with a bunch of random people. I said Avengers with a bunch of random people who I can't talk to or don't want to talk to. I want to play with my people. So I don't know if using the matchmaking pool of people being a desert is a good metric for how healthy the game is. But I'm also an idiot, so. 2 more stories.
No, your analogies have been great this episode, so you're looking good.
2 more stories. Hideo Kojima confirms a new project is in development. Says nothing about it. Says Wesley Inpool at Eurogamer. They are hiring for their new project in their Tokyo-based studio. That's all we know. So
it's a game development company, and they're making a game.
Surprise! They make more than just
breaking
Death Stranding.
news.
And then finally, Amazon has started sending out early access invitations for Luna, says Merdad at DualShockers. I did not get one of those invitations. So I'm boycotting Amazon now. There are a lot of other reasons why people would boycott Amazon previously, but this is the reason why for me. Because I didn't get an early access invitation on day 1.
Tisk, tisk, tisk,
Not like I
tisk,
would use it
tisk.
anyway. That's it, Holden, for our fetch quests. But that is not it for the episode. We still have segment number 7 coming up. And it is Game On Game Show. The game on our gaming show where we play a game called Game On. The gaming show on our game show. Game. And Holden, this week, we've got a kind of special version of one of our games.
Uh-oh.
Once every 7 or so years, we get a new generation of consoles. And with that new generation of consoles, we get a new lineup of launch titles. So this week, we are playing Now Flesh It Out, Launch Title Edition. We are mashing up multiple launch titles from multiple systems into what we might think this new version of a launch title might be. And we're going to pretend it's going to come out on PS5 and Xbox Series X. So hold on, I've got 3 pairs here. And again, we're taking them and pretending a game is going to be made from their guts. And we're going to put their guts
Aren't all these games going to be a PlayStation anyway, though? And none of them are going to be coming to Xbox in real life?
Yes. Starting with Super Mario World, which is a launch title for SNES.
Oh, I see what you're doing here now. I get it. I get it.
And Halo, which is a launch title for Microsoft's original Xbox. So if these 2 were mashed together and we have some kind of Frankenstein game made of the 2 of them coming out for PS5 and Xbox Series X, what would that look like?
Well, first of all, the whole thing here is it's an next-gen game on new consoles. It's not going to be a 2D platformer. So we got to take elements from Super Mario World and put it into Halo. I kind of feel like that's the direction we should go.
Okay,
that's just my opinion, at least. What that looks like is Master Chief gets like raccoon powers and stuff, and he gets like firepower and all that. And he also doesn't have a gun. he doesn't have a gun. He just jumps on enemies. That's what happens.
Okay.
And I think that's it. That's the game. I would play that game. Probably not. But I would talk about that game like I am right now.
I kind of want... I don't know if it doesn't have to be a 2D platformer. I think it could be a 2D platformer. But I kind of want it to be almost like a Trials Rising... You know, like the motorbike game, like Trials.
Oh yeah,
Trials
like
Fusion,
2.5D, but mostly 3D. But that perspective is still 2D.
Yeah, but maybe you're just like driving a warthog, and you're just like going through some insane levels and just like running over elites and grunts and shit like that, and like doing like there's all the physics of the warthog where it tumbles and like you fly out of it, and kind of ragdoll effects from the Trials games as well. I feel like that could be pretty fun.
That actually could be fun, because the challenge is the enemies can't really kill you, but you got to make sure you're not doing too much damage to that warthog, because then the warthog could blow up.
See? There you go. There you go.
There we go. And you get powers like the raccoon ability, so you can actually like fly your warthog over certain obstacles that might be too challenging, but you have to get the momentum of it to get. There's stuff here. That's a good idea. I like that idea. It's a good one. Yeah.
You've got 2 weeks to make it. Next up.
We're going to have to crunch. God damn it.
2 games. Daytona USA. I forgot to write down the launch platforms of these. I think that was
what a random launch title to choose.
Daytona USA. I believe was an original Xbox launch title. House of the Dead 2, which was a Dreamcast launch title.
Okay. Basically, this is what it is. It's just NASCAR. It's straight up NASCAR, but everyone in the audience, in the crowd, is actually a zombie trying to get onto the track, and you got to shoot them with a gun that you also have at the same time. Boom. Okay.
So it is. There's have you ever played the Dead Rising games? No, it's an Xbox game, so you've probably never played it.
I know of it. I'm familiar.
So Dead Rising, there are you get in vehicles as well. You can drive all around and just plow through waves of zombies. And in fact, there was an infamous achievement in, I think it was Dead Rising 1, maybe it was 2, where you had to kill a certain number of zombies. And so basically the only way to do it was just like go in this basement or this parking garage, get in a car, and just drive through a flood of zombies over and over and over for hours. And that's what I imagine this is. It's just a racetrack. It's a Daytona USA 500-lap race. It's the Daytona 500, and you are just plowing through zombies, making left turns nonstop. It's a very boring game.
All right, you're on a roll because you totally inspired me again.
Okay.
In Mario Kart, when you collect the coins, it actually speeds up your car a little bit.
Ooh, okay.
So when you hit the zombies, it speeds up your car a little bit. But as you start going around the track over and over again, there's less zombies for you to hit. So you start having to compete to be able to knock the zombie out of the way before one of your buddies you're racing with is.
Okay.
So it's like a more kind of consistently competitive element throughout the entire race.
And there are a finite number of zombies, so you have to get the lion's share of the zombies before the other person does.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you have no chance of being as fast as them and winning.
Exactly.
So it's Hungry Hungry Hippos mixed with Daytona USA and House of the Dead 2.
And those Hungry Hungry Hippos want brains.
They do. Great. All right. It's coming out in 2 weeks. Next up, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3, and I believe both of these came out on Dreamcast, and Max Payne. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 and Max Payne.
I've played Max Payne. I haven't played Tony Hawk in like a meaningful way, at least. I played it most recently. I played a little bit at Matt's house, sure. But I'm not like super familiar with the game. But I can see the bullet time effect being very cool in a Tony Hawk game, where you can like string together like much more complicated combos because you're free swimming in the air. Maybe you're gonna do that in the game. I don't know. Can you?
You can't really freeze time. Not in any that I've played. You can't like freeze time and you're like, I'm gonna do a bunch of sick tricks right now, blah, 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 and land it. You just have to do it all in engine in time.
And like when you're playing a Tony Hawk and you're skateboarding, what's that character thinking about? Because in Max Payne, he talks in voiceover nonstop the entire game for the most part. So you're just constantly thinking about stuff like, where am I going to get dinner today? Do I want to get just like a hot dog at 7-Eleven? I could just skate over there, but it's all told in like a noir voice. There's a hot dog stand over the corner. Do I want to skate over there, or
and just pop pills check the whole time?
Yeah, just pop pills the whole time. Or do I want to get a Cinnabon Delight from Taco Bell because those are really yummy?
Oh, those are so yummy.
They're so good. They're back now too, which is dangerous to know.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna go there this week. That's what sex sounds like. I kind of want this will be an obnoxious game. It's one of those games like I Am Bread or Octodad. That's like, it's obnoxious to play, but that's kind of the fun of it. I want like a really serious shooter, but with the movement mechanics of Tony Hawk. So famously, in most Tony Hawk games, there is no walking. You're just always riding your skateboard around. You fall down, you get back on your skateboard, and you start skateboard, you start scooting along the school, wherever you might be. So I want Max Payne to just always be on a skateboard. And so you're trying to shoot this guy who's standing on the sidewalk, and you're just like accidentally running circles around him, and like you're trying to shoot him, but you pass by him too quickly. And then maybe you can use bullet time, similar to how you do in Horizon Zero Dawn, where you slow down time as you're like scooting along the ground, so you can go and shoot the thing on your way by. I kind of want that to be with Max Payne, where you're just like skateboarding by, and you're just like crouched down, scooting along like a cool dude on a boardwalk, and then you slow down time and you go, and shoot them as you go by in bullet time. And then you get to the end of it, you pop some pills, and you go, keep the change, you filthy animal.
That's the game. That's it right there. That's it.
That's the game. That's it for Game On Game Show, and that is it for episode 184 of Respawn Aim Fire. Remember, you have a couple of jobs to do, and they are full-time jobs, so quit your other ones. Number 1, tell your boss you hate them. Number 2, get your severance. Number 3, go to patreon.com/RespawnAimFire, download your cool new wallpapers, celebrate Halloween with us. Number 4, go to your podcast services, let us know how much you like us. Remember the book Yildiz High Stern from German class? You need 5 of those to tell us how much you like us. You can also go to YouTube. Please do. Subscribe on all those thingies, and then make sure to play Horizon Zero Dawn before Halloween ends. And even if you don't finish it, or if you've played it in the past and you don't feel like playing it again, let us know your thoughts. Send us a DM, email us, and let us know your thoughts, because we are recording that on November 1st, Sunday, November 1st. Am I forgetting anything?
Boom. I don't think so. I'm also not related to Respawn Fire directly, but I am also doing a new podcast.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, plug
Michael
that thing.
Caputo. It's called Networked, and it's about Apple technology, mostly kind of primarily Apple. It's chill, good time. We do it every Wednesdays. It's actually going to be streaming live on YouTube, and then at 8 p.m. every Wednesday, and then we'll convert it to podcast form afterwards.
Dope. Go watch it, everybody. Until next time, here's our usual sign-off. Get it? Because it's Halloween.